Just like the good old days. How about now, guys? What if I try the virtual or the exact same audio input? So for some reason, there's two in there now. So for some reason, it switched to the other. So I think we're good to go. Larry hears me. Yo, Mike hears me. All right, we're back, guys. Waiting on you in some movement. Yeah, I'm alive, I promise. All right, let's start that over, guys. I'm Steve. I'm with Trade the Pool here. I just almost knocked over my water, and we are going to be doing our weekly trade roundup here. So lots to talk about, lots of movement in the market. It's been a wild ride here. Is the pain over? We're going to try to do our best to find out. So before we get started on what I traded myself, what worked, what didn't, and everything in between, we're going to be talking about what the market's doing overall. So we're going to be going through the indices as a whole. Now I'm double echoing. Definitely let me know if I'm double echoing. I will fix that. Okay. All right. So yeah, we're going to be going over the sectors here and kind of trying to get our heads around this movement and see if this dip is done dipping. So let's set up our charts here and we're going to start. I'm going to put the daily up on the right here, just so we can get our bearings. On the left, we'll start with an hourly. So I think it's super important to always look at multiple time frames like this when you're trying to kind of do a weekly review, and especially focus on these daily, hourly, 4-hour charts like that, because they're going to help tell the real tale of what's going on. Larry, are you by chance in the Discord trading room? Because that would cause a double echo. Otherwise, I'm not sure. And Joe, definitely let me know if there's anything I should adjust on my end. But I'm going to keep powering through. Sorry, Larry. Hope it clears up there. But yes, glass half full. I can look at Nvidia and Meta. We're going to go through all of the mega caps as well because they're all in interesting spots. First off, got to touch on the indices though, because man, today was such a tease. Zooming in, this is the hourly chart on the left here, and you can see we were basing for a potential breakout just about all day, and we never got it. So we were watching this 676 level. 676 was a very clear seller. Every time we looked at Bookmap, there was that seller sitting up there, and his liquidity on the Bookmap also provided a nice target to scalp to intraday. So I know in my server we called out a couple times where it was bottoming on the hourly, and we got a nice scalp to this level, but we couldn't break through. And then at the end of the day, it sold. And I know some pretty darn good traders who thought we were going to get a nice move up. I thought we were going to get a move up too, and we did not. So we should talk about it. What's up, Talk? Speaking of talk. And howdy. Welcome. Good to see you. Hope you had a good close to the week here. So here, there's a few scenarios that I'm kind of running over on SPY, and I'm not 100% sure. Not 100% sure what's going to happen. What I do know is there's some levels that are very responsive. So as long as we keep watching those and playing off these levels and seeing what they do there, we're gonna figure it out soon enough. So the first one we mentioned, the 676 level, the seller showing up today seemed very notable. You can also see that this is essentially the loss of yesterday's low here. It's basically, yeah, just about where the cash session closed. So it makes very good sense that there's a big level there to flip. Until we get over this, I can't really be bullish. And everything to me is still pointing like we can go on down lower. That being said, a few things we did technically, I believe, hold a higher low. Let's double check though. So the low on today was 669.78. And it was 669.66. Okay, so we are technically holding the low there, but that's where I'm saying when it's so close like that, it makes it really worrying because there's two kind of sets of stops under this level now. So the market could quite easily run these and then have momentum on that broken structure and carry on down to the 200 day, which is sitting right around this 660 level. That's the next big level of interest. That being said, we did find some buyers at 670. That was pretty good. That was our short target for our scalp in the morning right out of the gates. So that transacted pretty perfectly. But really just indecision here. And I don't like how we broke down today at the end of the day. But, there's always going to be de-risking on a Friday. So it's a little bit of indecision there. And for me, I just really got to watch what we do on the Monday open or, on the futures open and how we trade into Monday. That will help kind of frame my bias a lot better, I'd say. Okay, so that's SPY there. Moving on to Qs. Oh, I got to link my watch list. There we go. Now we're talking. SPY to me, or I'm sorry, Qs are looking a little bit heavier than SPY to me. This just looks really distributive to me. This whole structure since basically the beginning of February. This whole month here, month in a week, just looking really weak. Every pop has been sold. It couldn't make a new swing high 3 times in a row. And it's just rejecting off all the moving averages every day, just about every day here. This today it popped up on this 9 and then failed pretty hard. So until it can break above here, I can't be bullish. That being said, I'm ready to play if we do get above these levels, because I do think we have the potential to squeeze at any given time if these shorts can kind of lose momentum into a bullish headline or two. But till we get those, I see kind of like a complex bear flag going on. Overshot there, overshot a few times here too. But kind of where I see the most of the volume trading is like this, and now we're trading under it. If we go back to SPY really quick and just compare, yeah, they had this nice bear flag here that broke down, back tested, and broke down again. So kind of looking for that same kind of action on the Qs here and to lead the way down. Ultimate targets, people are getting really bearish, saying that this is like, get the start of a dead decade or something. I'm not buying it, not yet. What I do think is that the 200-day hasn't been transacted in a long time, and it's probably overdue. So the 200-day, I don't have it exactly on this chart, but on SPY it's sitting about 660 and probably around 685 or so on QQQ. I got to double check on that. But that's going to be the target to the downside if this long-term pattern does just keep on sliding. If we don't get resolution in the next week or so on Iran, if the strait continues to be closed, that was the big news today that I think really did send us stumbling after we really tried to reclaim the gap and get a nice dip buy going, just like we did this time and this time. So it's just a little bit shakier this time. And that brings us on to our next chart in oil. So absolutely explosive on the daily chart here. This is something you haven't seen in oil in a long, long time, about 3 years. So absolutely explosive, high volume breakout. And this time, this move is actually looking quite constructive. So we got a weekly chart here. Still not giving us enough price action. So let's see, or price history. Let's see the monthly. A little bit better. This is good though. It gives us 5 years of price history, 6 years of price history. And what we can see is pretty clear. TA, or a chart is strong when you can do proper TA with just like one line. And this is all you really need. A little box right here, a little zone. That does the previous 5-year range highs, and we just smashed through that. And that's why you always look for multiple highs like this to get broken, because you can absolutely explode on these patterns here. So the high volume and the fact that we're just holding above here makes me think that oil is going to be quite sticky. Doesn't mean we're going to keep trading up here this high forever. We might come back and refill this pretty quickly at 100, the USO 100. It'll be, I don't think WTI is at 100 quite yet. I think it's at 92, 94, something like that. But yeah, that's a level to look at or look for. Maybe some sellers into 100 there. We might come back into this gap. You might find an area that becomes buyable on a move down, move up, and then a higher low as it flags out and these moving averages catch up. So for now, very overextended, but you can't short these moves, especially when we don't know just what's going to happen. It's a very interesting time for geopolitics, and we got to see how it plays out. So oil, very important. I was watching oil intraday, and it was almost acting like a better, more responsive VIX. And in that, it was moving so inverse to SPY, because whenever oil was moving up, SPY was having a real hard time. So you don't have to, but it really helps in intraday trading to keep an eye on some secondary factors or secondary indicators. Like VIX is the most obvious, but oil can be very helpful if that's kind of what's in right now. You know, if oil is something that's a big factor in trades, sometimes it's gold. Sometimes that's the big mover. So you can also watch gold, and we'll talk about that as well here. So the precious metals having an interesting day. Pretty strong, pretty strong. Gold is looking the best for sure, just shaping out this pennant. Still believe that it's on track to move into all-time highs eventually. It just needs to kind of take its time. Silver a little bit weaker. No doubt there, but it was also much stronger on the move up. But a close near the highs here, quite encouraging. So it's just doing the pinch here between moving averages. I'm looking for a little more tightening up next week, and then I would expect it to continue on up. And I think that this is a buying opportunity in this higher low. Although I did end up trimming just a little because I bought at this level previously and we surged up, and I'm silly. I didn't trim, you know? Didn't trim because this day, the second day after this big move up, this was clearly overextended. Should have trimmed at the close. Didn't, though. Then we gapped down and caught so strongly that I said, hey, I'll just hang on, you know, after this crazy move where I added down here. But I round tripped an add. So I figured I'm just going to take that exposure off, because what I do like a little bit more is crypto. And I haven't said that in a while, guys. I'm not a crypto maxi at all, but I do love trading it. So I'm not into the, you know, smaller coins, but I am into Ethereum and I'm into Bitcoin. And sometimes I'll trade like a little, what is it? XRP, something like that. But all right, let me catch up on comments here. Got you guys in the corner. Hey, little buddy. Good to see you. Good to see you. We're going to get into any trades that you guys want to look at in just a few minutes here. Just going to run through some sectors a little bit more, but hope you're having a good Friday, man. I know our ONDS play is not being easy on us. You know, let's look at that very quick just because I know you're here. ONDS, I do think it's about as bad as it can look without being over. I'm not going to lie to you. It's looking pretty rough. It looked like we were getting our breakout today, and then it failed pretty spectacularly. I mentioned now's a good time to trim. Did I trim? No, because I didn't have enough. I don't have enough of a position yet. So it won't kill me if I have to stop out, but I will be kind of annoyed because I love the stock. I want it to work. I think they're a very good company with a very bright future, but I can't deny the fact that we are very close to rejecting a pennant. It does like to do fake breakdowns quite often. Internals don't look terrible, but like, man, this close under these key moving averages looking a little rough. That being said, hey, it did it a couple days ago. Big spike up, big move down, giving it all back, and then it was able to spike again. So there's a lot of shorts, no doubt. It is holding the line, but man, it's cooking us. High time frame, honestly, it could go either way. So stops will be important here. I do feel like it wants to hold this uptrend line. If it does fake breakdown, maybe somewhere down to this 937. But man, if it does lose 9, and especially if it loses this 837 level, it could come back pretty hard, probably to the 650s. Could really wash out. But if the narrative plays out, this thing could easily really ramp as they execute and as the sector remains hot. These guys do drones, lots of drones. They are also a FIFA play. We have the World Cup this year, and they are a strong contender to be a major receive a major contract from them for basically doing like air patrol kind of security, not necessarily with like manned drones or armed drones, hopefully not, but you know, they have a lot of market in, or a lot of potential in that market as well. All right, let me let the cat out here. And then back to crypto, I want to talk about that. But the first thing about the last thing about ONDS here that I do want to mention is that this is a nice potential channel that's starting to form out here. We do have this nice pinching of the moving averages. Last time we saw it like this, it was sketchy in here week to week, but it was posting bottom wicks showing buyers. This time, it was posting bottom wicks showing buyers until this week. So I'm a little bit worried about that. It's also showing significant top wicks. We have to watch and see how it plays out. And a weekly close under the 9, not the end of the world, but not ideal. As long as, yeah, $9 holds, I will stay in this trade, though, and look for spots to add. Not ready to add, though, just because it's green to red. All right, back to Ethereum first, then Bitcoin, then on to some other good stuff there. So Ethereum's really trying. I thought we got the breakout signal on this day with the close over my zone here. Was not the case. Needed another washout. Now under the 9 and the 21. Don't love that. Also don't love that it broke the downtrend line. There's my line. Don't love that it broke this because it kind of opens the possibility that this was all one bear flag. Bear flag would be like that, right? Like, oh man, it's scary, right? So we got to watch pretty close. Got to stop under here. And well, that's the other thing, though, because it could run and just fill this gap. This is an ETF representing Ethereum. Ethereum doesn't have this gap, obviously, but it is an area of low liquidity. And then you have the high volume shelf right underneath it. So, yeah, I think I'd have to just run my stop all the way under here, and I will do that. I'm going to adjust it because it was under here, but now that I look at this again, what it could be doing is need to form a higher low in there, fill the gap into the volume shelf, then start moving up. So I might be wrong on this, but I think it's worth a try. And it's a longer term position. Ethereum is something that I just do want to have an allocation in, especially when it's been trading so low for so long. I think that the odds that it goes up significantly back to 3,000, which is up here, pretty darn good at some point in the next year or two. You never know what catalysts might be around the corner. And I think Ethereum and Bitcoin both have the staying power. So IBIT is going to be our Bitcoin ETF. Yeah, quiet after hour scanners. Makes sense. It's a Friday. Time to relax, Mike. Crack a brew. Kick back. Feb sucked, Tyler. I'm kind of with you. I didn't have a very good month in February. I was treading water for most of it. Had some really unfortunate setups that I thought were going to play out. Ended up allocating a full size position and ended up getting stopped out a few times. So usually I get stopped out without a full position on. So getting a few of those in a month doesn't feel good. Had a few good winners that kind of made me, hold my ground, but definitely not one for the record books for me. Had an amazing January, not a good February. I'm kind of looking at it as, hey, all comes out in the wash, green on the year, gonna count my blessings and look for more opportunities here as the market starts presenting them. Because when you get this movement down, eventually there's going to be great buying opportunities for some real easy swings. That's what I'm kind of looking forward to and trying to preserve my mental capital. That's the biggest part of it. So going on to Bitcoin here, same kind of thing, just testing whether or not we're in a bear flag or whether this is the start of a basing process, breaking the high, coming back, forming a higher low potentially, then carving on upwards. Hard to say, but there's been a good amount of volume traded down here and it could be moving on up. So we talked silver, gold, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all that fun stuff. We're going to get into the major sectors real quick just because they kind of matter, but we're going to kind of speed through these and get to some other trades and ideas that either you guys have or we can go through what I traded as well. So XLF, this is our leading indicator, and it is just not acting very strong quite yet. That being said, it did hold this zone that's starting to form. Let's go out to a weekly. Pull up a weekly on the left here. Always good to go through these weekly charts on a Friday because you get the full picture and you know what to kind of expect for next week. So, for example, next week is pretty clear what the bulls want to kind of reclaim and reach for, and it's very clear where the bears want to reject, right? So it's this big moving average here. This is a 50-week moving average, so a 200-day moving average sitting in this zone. There's a low liquidity node right up there, right at the top of the zone, so it can pop into it, tag this moving average. But as long as there are sellers over it, then I would expect this zone to hold as resistance. And until it does, it is looking a little bit tough for financials, I must say. The other side of it, though, is that we're trading back into this really high volume node where a lot of shares have been traded here and a nice basis can be built out. So there's always a good chance that if it runs a little bit deeper, it'll be oversold enough that it can just wick on right back up, start reclaiming things and structuring out better and push on up eventually. So this is the area where I'm starting to watch for sure. Basically the whole zone that we traded in this week. So especially the low of it though. If we do break this low, I think that we're going lower. Yeah, through the 50 fib. through $50, probably down to this 48 handle at the very least. The next fib down. That's a good place to start looking at least. So that would be kind of the range that we're looking for to the downside. To the upside, if we can flip this, then we retest these moving averages. That would be very, very nice. I don't know if we get it, but see if we go through the top there, this space, then we can surge up to this 53. Yeah, private credit stocks dragging down the XLF. Absolutely. Just like in the XLV, we got some real stinkers that are making this thing have a hard time. I am still in my cure. I'm in cure, which is 3x levered shares. My stop is under this 149 level on XLV. A close under there on a significant time frame, and I will have to admit defeat and wait for an entry again, which would probably be down here, which isn't too far on this XLV. But when you're in a 3x ETF, got to play by the rules. I was hoping we get the breakout. My average cost basis is about 157.50, I believe. Yeah. So it's playing for the breakout, kind of was buying into and through this kind of pivot. That pivot there did not play out. So a big part of that is Lily. Not acting very nice. Kind of a bad weekly candle, but you know what? Decent area to look for a catch. So something to consider there. UNH. I also need this one to behave. The idea here is that if we do get these gap fills on these insurance providers, pretty good chance that XLV breaks out. Not looking as likely now as it was a few days ago, so we got to keep an eye on that, but definitely worth watching. Moving on to technology. Weekly on the left, daily on the right. Just the structure is not great again, Again, we're just seeing a lot of these kind of bear flags. And a lot of them are retesting the moving averages today and getting reshorted pretty aggressively. Again, we're playing the flip side. That's the bear case. You can't ignore it. But here's a few reasons why we could be trying to bottom down here. There's a few areas of interest in this wick. Clearly a zone of interest, and we also have this rising 200 week, or sorry, a 50 week moving average there on this chart. So just an area at 133 to 135-ish that we can kind of look and see if buyers can kind of start stepping in and forming some structure. But honestly, not very good of a look here. What is quite strong, XLE, pushing on up higher. So it's just very, very mechanical here, giving you entries off the 9-day here. I should have been playing this on this breakout because it's been very orderly, right? If you got an entry right there, very nice. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. And it might give us one more here, one or two more next week before it tries to break out further. So far, any consolidation after it's gotten too extended has been a buy opportunity, right? Extended sideways trading for a week or two. As this caught up, that was a buy. Just rips higher, gets overbought, comes back, and you can see even a little pivot there. It provided a nice place to look as well for some confluence. So we can look for another one of those. Maybe we get it off this pivot here. Yeah, something like that. So that would be roughly 56. Roughly 56, give or take 25 cents. Would be the area you look for there. Yeah, really, really strong price action in anything energy related right now. All right, XLY, consumer discretionary. Not too much that I care about here. It's kind of indecision mode. It's in a downward channel. It's better than a bear flag at least. Downward choppy channel, trying to hold a previous major low. Just kind of in wait and see mode, but decent candle on the week or on the daily there actually. And on the weekly, it's a doji. So indecision, we'll keep watching. XLP, consumer staples. Looking much more interesting in my book. So the weekly chart here showing a nice big flag breakout, and we're starting to come back and find buyers into this range that it broke out from. So see, almost to the penny where we got the low was where the previous high was, showing that there are still buyers here, and this trade could form a pennant up here as the moving averages catch up like that, and start to flatten like that. So this kind of 86-ish area, which we are trading at right now, but I want to see this kind of progress further before I'd want to trade it. That being said, this 50 SMA caught beautifully today. Not too shabby after a breakdown like that. So worth watching. This is probably the zone that we trade in for a while on XLP, I'd say. So industrials were another sector having a crazy rally. This was after just all that money was outflowing or flowing out of tech and just looking for other places to go. So these names kind of stalling out. Good thing for tech, probably a good sign. Gives the money, some more places to go. But in general, we want to see XLI relatively resilient if we're expecting the economy to do well going forward, and both the indices in general to just continue to go up, and this to be a viable dip. So we do want to see, I would say, kind of some pennant action here as well, pretty similar to the XLP in that regard, and just holding this previous breakout range, holding this 50 SMA, and we will check back in next week. Let's see. That's a good question, Larry. Joe, do you know if it's too late to join the March Madness competition? It's the Market Madness competition. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know that I drafted my team. I think that you still have time because we don't lock in until Monday morning when the orders get placed. So I believe that you should have time. It'd be a lot of fun. I recommend it. I wish that I planned a little better because I got some of my picks taken really quick in the draft, and it just did not come together quite as balanced as I would have liked, as I had it in my head. So next year I'm going to take it for sure. But you know what? We're not out just yet. We got some real good picks. I'm rocking some ASTS, some ONDS. So hoping the drones and the space theme can continue for some upside. I am hedging my upside with some downside in Palantir. And then I got Nvidia as my powerhouse, my biggest position that I'm expecting to do well into the next couple weeks. Hoping at least. I'm saying go big or go home. So I did NVDL, the 2X ETF. We're going to see how it plays out. It might not work, but we're going to have fun. Yeah, ASTS, such a fun one. We're going to definitely talk about space stocks. So XLC looking very constructive here, and this is a defensive sector. This has a lot of, the telecom names, the T-Mobile, the Verizon, stuff like that. So this tightening up, kind of interesting. Also interesting because Nokia putting on an absolute show recently. Look at this. Quite a move, quite a double top. I know that somebody mentioned it here a couple weeks ago. It was trading around 7, and we were saying, hey, we were looking for the sweep, and that'd be the trade that I would take, and then I'd wait for it to decide what it wants to do after. So it got that sweep, and now we're just sitting here waiting. Nice look there. Going through the sectors, we'll just finish up these last ones. Not super, super important, but worth noting. So XLB, decent look back into this kind of gap. And you're seeing that on a lot of sectors that kind of got ahead of themselves and started looking constructive for continuation, but just needed to retrace. So interesting that it's coming back, makes sense. This is a big consolidation. So it's coming back to the last decent sized consolidation, especially where there was a gap to clean up. So we will watch and see if that can hold as well. And going on into real estate, very similar, just too far ahead of itself, coming back on the weekly here to back test kind of this range that it broke from. So if this holds, real estate, I think, might want to continue to go on up to the high of the range. Looking pretty good to me. All right, we got through the ETFs there. I'm going to start going through names. Oh, cat jumping in the window. We're going to start with the space themes, I think, but as any names you guys want to check out, we can look over. Throw them on in. Tyler says PDYN is going to cook for him this year. Paladine, let's take a look at it. Man, that thing is a big old flag, isn't it? It's really trying. So a big gap up, now coming back and starting to look interesting, looking compelling. So I want to do a post-earnings gap setup. I'm assuming that was earnings, gapping it up like that. If not, then maybe some big contract or something. Maybe you can tell me there, Tyler. But what I'm seeing is a nice zone of resistance falling. And we're seeing just in general, some tightening up occurring. So it looks like this was the meaningful low. This one got violated pretty hard there, but this one, when it held, respected pretty darn good there. So as long as this holds, which I would expect to, long term, I would expect this thing to eventually resolve up. The question is it ready to go for the breakout squeeze and hit this upper area of interest? There's a few areas that it's testing. First off, this middle of the W, this kind of neckline, but it's also got this upper one where it overshot a few times. So that's a zone. And then you have the big prize way up here at 15 and beyond. If it can get beyond there, you can look for some measured moves into the stratosphere. 1850 is looking good. 23 is a possibility. That's the 1.6 fib. And if you got the full measured move of this giant expansion here, that would be $28, guys. So yeah, don't sleep on this chart. I love charts that look like this, been basing over a couple of years. And this is what has to happen after you have a move from $2 all the way up to 15. It takes a long time to digest that, has to retrace a lot of that. But when it's ready to go, it can be explosive. A good example of a chart like that is AEHR. AEHR. These guys are a Semiconductor Testing company. Absolutely explosive move. Mentioning it now because somebody just brought this chart to me. They're in it. They're wondering, do I add? Do I sell? What's it going to do? I think we're at an interesting spot here into the weekly. I'd like to see it hold, or I'm sorry, the daily 21 moving average. I'd like to see it hold. Maybe it needs to come back down a little bit more to this kind of weekly pivot. Something like that. At this 30 handle. That's where I'm kind of looking for a place to add or get in. I do think it's a strong name. Thing is, it just fulfilled a really big pattern, or it could have fulfilled a really big pattern. So this is the monthly chart on the right here. And I don't know. I think it would like to reach up and actually get a new high, but this is pretty close to a fulfilling kind of like a cup and handle, kind of a cup pattern here, you know? So a big washout. Then it came all the way back to the start of the month where it sold off hard. And that's where it found sellers. So that could be a major level of selling, and it could need to take its time and form a large cup here, or a large handle. So that might take some time to play out. This thing moves pretty fast though, so whoops. So we will see what it does at 30. But yeah, these names, when they really get going off the lows, they can just be absolutely explosive. And I wanted to show you the longer, I guess we can look at it on a weekly. That probably is a good look. So when you get these big long-term range breaks, they can just be absolutely explosive. And then these big long-term flags can lead to very explosive moves as well. So just the longer the pattern, like on that PDYN, the more potential room you got to the upside. Not quite as similar as I remembered, but you know, same basic idea, right? QURE hidden scans. Yeah, that one's a wild one. So I'm in that one long term from up above before the washout. I did not add. I would be break even if I added. Absolutely insane movements on this one. Wish I was more. I'm wore out from this move. Look at this, guys. Price is not seen since. Wow, it's 20. That's insane. Wow. All right. Well, I'm happy that I'm almost back to break even, but sad sad that I didn't add. Such an insane move there. The FDA, they said some stuff implying that wow, it's still going, huh? Absolutely insane. Congrats, guys. All right, I know some people in my server are in this one and they were not feeling good about it. I said all I can do is hold. I don't know what's going to happen, but it seemed like a very BS reason to sell. And it seems like we're getting bailed out. Yeah, I really wish I added now, but I was a little bit sketched out. What can you do except for be happy about that, I guess? So the other one that moves with this one, CLPT, clear point. This one a little less explosive, but you know what? Looks like it is moving on here too. Is this after hours move? Oh, we will see. Wow, that's wild. Boom, this one's after hours explosive there. Up to 22. Wow. I'm actually green again. That's crazy. It's a Christmas miracle. Yeah, nice move after hours here too. From 10 all the way to 1260. All right, so I have some dead CLPT calls. Some 20s for April. Got a lot of work to do. We'll see how it goes. Hey, Callie, good to see you, man. How we doing? Any charts you want me to look at? Imperador wants battle. This is a fun one. Let's talk about it. Saying he shorted battle today. 1-to-1 risk return. Should he close half and let the other run? Let's look. Nice short. What did he short from? He shorted from anywhere. It looks like he did well. So great job. Sliding on down. Where's it going to? It's not. It hasn't broken structure yet. So what I think we need to do is define the range. And note that it is finding some buyers here at the end of the day, although they are selling off a little bit in after hours here, but it is kind of respecting this as a relative area of interest here in this this golden pocket between the 62 and the 78 fib. So it did run stops here and bounced a little bit. We can see if this is enough and it forms a higher low. What you don't want to see as a short is a little bit of a higher low and then strong buyers coming in and sweeping through this this after hours high here at 2320. That's what I'd say. All right. So let's see. Looks like you. All right, 2864 stop loss. Okay, so stop loss. Is this your stop loss or okay? No. This is your entry 2864. Okay, well, amazing entry. Look at you, almost top ticking it there. Beautiful short. Congratulations. Stop loss 30. So I would say definitely reward yourself for a good trade and close some of it. How much you want to close is up to you. I would have my stop over this 2327 personally. For me, if it breaks past that pre-market high that it just swung up to, for me, I think that there's potential that this thing could be forming a large W pattern and continue to go higher. This is an oil-related name into the weekend, so it's going to be really, really risky to swing this. Keep that in mind. If you get any headline over the weekend, which is highly likely, this will oscillate. Could go up pretty hard if it's anything, war-related, which, well, this is when we'd see it. So something to consider. Definitely always good to close geopolitical trades over the weekend unless they're a hedge. Often I will, buy some oil position just because I think something might happen, going into an extended, or maybe an extended weekend or just a period where there's heightened tensions. So keep that in mind. All right, Callie's in net and CRDO, Credo. Got unlucky with Credo in regards to the OpenAI Oracle announcement. Let's take a look at them. I was saying earlier, like, why does Credo just always look like it's a chart that's like clinging to life? And then it does some crazy stuff. So what are we seeing? Is this a double bottom or not? What I don't like is that it broke under this low. It did get a nice bounce. I'm wondering if it's just a 50% retrace of this range. Yeah, exactly to the penny, 50% there. So in my book, this is a mean reversion, a dead cat to the 21 moving average there on the daily as well. And now it's a game of whether it can form a higher low and start to move a little more constructively. Why is this not working? There we go. Like that. Or whether it's going to go like that, make a new low, then eventually knife on down. Where it would go down 2 is probably going to be a bigger fib level on this massive range that it's got. So this is like a price discovery stock, right? Like it's just going crazy. Everybody's like, how high can it go? It could go to 400. It can go to 800. It's like Micron or SanDisk. And then, reality kicks in and they beat it on down into this established range that formed, often very deep. And it can take quite a while too on some of these. On some, it can be quite, aggressive snapback. So it's important to watch what it does at these fibs. To me, this looks pretty weak into the 50 fib on the weekly here. It is finding buyers at the 62. Long term, I think that if it gets on down to test this previous high at 87, it'd be a nice buy. Up here, can't say that I love it. Kind of just in the middle of the range, right under the 50. It is getting bought off the 62, so that is good, but not my favorite, to be honest. We'll have to see how it plays out here. Net's looking much more constructive. I like this. To me, it looks like a nice scallop bottom, kind of curled W pattern here. So we got our classic W. That's what we're kind of looking for. It looks like one big flag. I think these guys are very high quality. I think if any software as a service is going to recover, which I do think, I think these guys are going to be some of the good ones, or one of the good ones. So pretty solid here. Looks decent enough for me. So it is now trading over the 50. That's important, this white line right here. So I really like, or is this my 200? I changed this to my 200. That makes sense. This is my 200 day. So it's trading above the 200. This is very constructive. What we can look for now, continuation over this breakout line. We got it one day, and we want to see these moving averages coming on up and providing support and more buy entries. So this is one we can watch next week. We can watch for entries to buy off of these rising 9 and 21 moving averages that should follow this line right here as it ramps. It's a good looking one. All right. VRT. What's up, James? How you doing, man? Let's look at VRT. Wow, very, very strong still. So it's holding this post-earnings gap setup very nicely. We see an established buy range under here, and now seeing that buying stepping in earlier off this rising 21. Now it's reclaimed our short-term moving average here, and it's just starting to kind of reshape itself after it failed a breakout continuation through there. So it tried to break out, had to reject and reform itself. It might take some more time here. It does look very strong to me, though. So under 250 should be the pivot long-term, I think. Yeah, so I think what it's doing is forming a kind of ascending triangle like this. And it ran too hot, so it probably needs more time to develop. I would watch it, and as long as it's holding this rising level here, represented by this 21-day moving average, EMA, I think it's probably a safe bet to hold long-term. Way past that. Oh, I'm sorry. It's earnings or? All right, 255. Tested a breakout 258. All right. So 255, I'm going to go to the daily on the right here. This is hourly on the left. Yeah, 255. I think that's what it'll. Yeah, it's showing it. Unless that's incorrect, but it looks correct to me. 255 here. So pushing up nicely, Held nicely. Yeah, I think it's trying. We can watch for the swing high at 258.50, which it did just tick above. We're going to go to a 5-minute now. Big power move there. Did find sellers right at that previous high. So that makes sense. Look for it to coil under this 258 to 258.50 zone. And then it should eventually work its way higher if this move's going to stick, which it looks good to me. So I think this is just taking its time. I do think that it... So the way that it's structured here, I feel like it just needs more time to develop. So I'd be a little hesitant if it just went straight vertical here. I don't really think it's going to do that, but it could maybe make a new tick high. It could stall out around this 50 and trade sideways for a bit, but this is a nice pop here after kind of testing the range lows. And I think what it wants to do is maybe at worst do a 50% retrace. So yeah, again, just this 250 pivot. If the 250 pivot holds a back test now, I think it's probably good to add. Till then, just kind of, keep watching it. I think it's definitely not done though. Oh, well, thank you very much. Assuming you're talking about us, Imperator. If you're teaching us anything, or if I'm learning and if we're teaching you anything, we're doing a good job. And I learn a lot from you guys every day, especially on these small caps. Let's see, RPGL popping a couple minutes ago. Mike mentioned, and Hercules Jack, good to see you, man. AAOI and GLW, yeah, we can definitely do those. Really quick, gonna look at this RPGL because it's moving. Woo! All right. Nice pop. You know me. I love to do the ranges here, but first we got to check on the high time frame. So caught the 200-day. That's where they found buyers at 134. That's our key pivot that we clearly broke through. Then we formed this big range after hours. So we slap our fib on up there, and we want to see how it navigates the 50% pullback that you almost always get. So when you see this topping action and you get a piece of this and you get short, where do you cover? You cover some into this 50. Almost always there's going to be at least some buyer there, unless you have a real reason to believe that this thing is done. Great place to cover into the 50 after a big percent move like this. Very quick and easy trade. So now after this, you got to see whether it's going to hold the 50 or whether it needs to reload in this golden pocket. Those are the two areas where bulls can kind of catch it. Run this level, or hold this kind of regular area zone right here and then push higher. In general, I don't like trading entering anything in this middle of the range unless I see a really good reason to. One of those reasons might be on an even shorter time frame chart. If I see an imbalance. To me, this looks like a healthy flag. These candles aren't like leaving a bunch of big gaps. They're trading back and forth, consolidating healthily. So to me, I think this could keep going higher. On the high time frame here, levels to watch. This 21-day EMA at 186, that's where we hit our head. 186, yeah. So sellers stepped in above there. If we flip that, then we test the 9. That is at 212. So 2 to 212. There's going to be a few sellers over 2 just because it's the round number there, but it looks like most of the volume is under that level, the 190 to 2. It's a good look there, still curling on up. We can check back on that at the end before we wrap up. All right, now what else? AAOI, this one was insane. I got shook out of this one in this chop. Pretty sad about it. Break even, didn't lose any money, but didn't make any either. Made money on one of the times, break even on the second time. Got too demoralized in this chop to try a third, and thought it left me at 45. Should have kept watching at 45 because it gave an entry at around 40. Then bam, crazy move. Oh, sorry, couldn't mute in time there. I got allergies going on. All right, so AAOI here tried to break out of a tight 4-day pennant, high and tight flag here, over a 60% move, and then tightening up here. Usually these need more time to progress. Oh, sick. I just learned how to keep drawing. Awesome. All right. Anyways, pennant here, tried to break out, failed. Very likely this could be a short candidate, guys. This could be a short candidate. So let's look for some pivots and some levels to play off of. So the target would be this gap fill in the 9-day, I think. Just like that. And since we swung down after a gap up and then swung up, broke that high, and are coming back, I think these fibs are appropriate. And our target would be, I think this 21 is possible here back at 70. But what I really care about, now that I think about it a little more, is the larger fib range. Just like that. So there the 50 aligns with this zone that we have already. So I do still like that spot the most for a trim if you're going short. Probably worth measuring from the very bottom here. That still is a fib level. 50 is 78. 62 fib, it aligns with our 21 day there at 70. So those are some levels to watch. And also the complete gap fill would be 58 if this thing completely dies. But I don't think it necessarily goes under this 50 or even necessarily under this 85 because this is a very, very strong sector. These are photonics, I believe. So like basically, if we're going to be betting on these data centers and the future of everything is going to be in transfer speeds, this is the best way to do it. And also this is the best way to not have to mine 10,000 tons of copper in 10 years, like this is one way around, all of the old wiring that we rely on. You can offset some of that with these, kind of glass cables. I mean, I think they probably still use, I don't know the details, but I know that it at least cuts back on the amount that we would need for all this infrastructure spending. And I'm sorry, we haven't yet. Let's look at them right now. Sorry about that. So let's see. Just because we're on AOI, we're going to do GLW, Meta, Nvidia, and then any others you have glass half full, we'll hit those two. So I'm going to switch from the 1 minute to an hourly here on the left. All right, GLW still having a hard time. Now it's now traded through this big pivot that it flagged out of, coming back into the 200 day here at 120. So that is a level of interest. There is okay, so guys, there's a level going back like 30 years on GLW that it broke out from. I think it's coming back to test that now. I think it's 120, but it might be 100. I do have to double check on that. I also saw some big out of the money like April flow, like 160, like 190 calls. That'd be pretty crazy if it got there. But worth keeping an eye on this one for making a big move back, just because I think this is in a theme that's going to stick around. Even if the stocks do sell off, they're a basket that I'd be looking for to basically find a bottom, reaccumulate, and I'd be trying to accumulate with big buyers because I think that narrative-wise and structurally, these names kind of have to go up if we're going to keep on building all these data centers. All right, so now Meta coming up next, some of these mega caps. Meta is interesting here today after this sell. The sell overnight, pretty rough, and we got to start thinking about what's going on here. I have some Meta, and you know what? Don't love today's price action, but I think I'm going to hold course here. So worst case is that this is a bear flag, and we need to expand on down. I'm going to pull up a weekly here on the left, give us some perspective. There's a lot of compression. That's the first thing. General trend, compression down like that. Compression up like this, getting very tight, right? I think at this stage, with the market being unsure and a chart that looks like this weekly candle, do not like, I was really hoping for a close up above 660, 665. We did not get that. We tested up and failed. We are now under the moving average ribbon on the daily and the weekly. So you know what? I got to think that it's going to try to break down. I also think that high time frame, pretty likely that in the next week or two, we kind of bottom out on these big tech names and they start getting bought up again. And it's just kind of in one of those scary out times. And I think if there's any name where I would look for a fake breakdown on a long-term pattern, this is like one of them, right? Because it's pretty high quality. They're not as kind of frivolous with their spending, I would say. Frivolous is not fair to Amazon, but they're more conservative. I'll say that. In Amazon, for an example here. But in general, Meta, I think I'm bullish long term. It's just a matter of how we get there. So like I said, hard to predict right here. All we know is that there's a lot of compression. I would love to see a fake breakdown. We can find a level 600 would be good. I think there's a lot of volume trading at 600. The other possibility is it needs to run a little bit deeper than that. Maybe down there, maybe down a little deeper, and we can look for these fibs in this range as well. So ideally, it holds this kind of 580 to 600 zone, I think. Really want to see it hold this low, but if it does need to do a big washout, market's really fallen. I could see maybe this 450 to 430, or sorry, 550, not 450. 450, we would be in trouble. Hey, Extraordinary Cave Trader. Yeah, guitar mostly, a little bit of bass. I sing in the shower. Nobody should listen to that. Yeah. I always vibe with musicians. All right, UMAC. You can look at VIX too. Got to look at the VIX. I can't on this actually, but we can look at VXX. UMAC. Drones. These guys are shaping up. So all the drones and aerospace names are all starting to look like they want to go. Some are just playing more games than others. This one's looking healthier than ONDS. I still have a small tester position from I believe 1650. I thought it was breaking out in here, and I just kind of held. I didn't even add. Looking back, nice add off the 200 week there. Nice spot to add here if I was watching at 1365. Now starting to work its way on up the side of this kind of W big base. I think it wants to resolve higher. These ones just play a lot of games, just like RCAT. Talk about playing games. Look at that candle. We call that a good old-fashioned yeehaw. I still think it's potentially just retesting a breakout. But man, it's tough. Man, it is tough. Oops. So on RCAT, for example, you've got this kind of pivot here. To me, it looks like a big cup and handle. Tried to break out, found sellers, coming right back to the neckline. Really hard to say. Probably a coin flip there, depending on news. ONDS, my baby, doing something quite similar. Tried to break out of a pennant, now testing a breakdown out of a pennant. So God help us all. And one of the biggest failed breakouts I can remember. This one looked so good up here at 12, looking to break out from 15 and above. It said, look above and no thank you. No thank you. Now it's just falling. And this looks like it's going to keep on dropping. Looks terrible. So yeah, these names weaker than the space names for sure. ASTS posting some wild candles today. Starting to look like it's an interesting spot to get involved, though, if it can hold. It's basically retesting after trying to break out. The other way you can look at it, failed breakout. One might say some type of right shoulder, but I don't know. I'm biased long. I got this in my challenge. I think it's a big ol' ascending triangle that's eventually going to resolve much higher. Like 180 someday in a year or two. But you know what? It's not making it easy. I guess what we're looking for now is a W here. Boop, 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 boop. Like that. And it can play with this kind of downtrend line that's been formed now. So that's what I'm kind of looking for on ASTS. I added to Rocket Lab today when things look like they might be bottoming in the market. This one's a little bit stronger. This one might need a washout too. To be completely honest, I was hoping for this close over this 72 or 73, these moving averages. We did not get the close. Probably should have waited until the close to add, to be honest. But I thought this one might be ready to follow the ASTS move here. I was also watching Lunar, seeing the relative strength in there. So I might have jumped the gun on here. Hope I'm not drastically wrong. But we'll see what it does if it reaches down into these wicks. All right, guys. Well, let's see what else we got. When Nvidia breaks out, how far do you think it can run? It did beat earnings and EPS, but didn't run. So that's why I'm expecting a blast off at some point. Yeah, so I'm kind of with you. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to happen. And it's definitely kind of testing things at this point. But it's traded sideways for a lot of months. I think the earnings were really good, even if the expectations have been so high that they finally are like, there's some bear case. Let's put it like that. Hasn't been a bear case in a long time. Chart hasn't looked this ready to potentially drop in a long time either. I don't love these daily closes and these weekly closes. They're all under these key moving averages, and it's making it really hard to feel like the bottom is in here in the past couple weeks. I still think we need a capitulation event before we can get really, really bullish. But I think that the chances of us just kind of, on good news, gapping up and never looking back is also kind of in the realm of possibility still. So I don't want to take all of my longs off the table. Still looking for pockets of strength, finding my spots, and we'll plan on averaging down as needed. And I don't think that we are in for like a mega, mega long downturn. If so, well, you know what? I'll monetize my puts and I'll keep buying more on pops if nothing's working. Yeah, all right. All right. I think it's about that time, guys. I've been here for an hour. I'm a little bit low energy here, either fighting something off or maybe just those allergies. But either way, I'm going to go get some beauty sleep. I'm going to get refreshed, and I'm going to check in with Josh and Kevin because I think they're doing their stream, and I missed last week, couldn't make it, but I'd love to join this week. So, guys, if you're around, take a look on. I think this week it'll be on Josh's stream. So look at for Josh AK47 or AK47 Josh on YouTube. Check him out. Always a good time there. And yeah, Mike, I bet you'll be there. Hope to see you there. And what else? What else? Market Madness next month. This month. Yeah, I'm tired. Definitely check that out this weekend. It should not be too late to join. You can still go and make your team. You can pick a team comprising of a combination of mega caps, mid caps, small caps, penny stocks for the ultimate dream team starting rotation, starting lineup, I should say, and see how it goes. You can battle yours against the coaches, me and the other traders here at Trade the Pool. It's going to be a good time. So check it out and be sure to put your name in the ring, what am I trying to say? Throw your name in the hat. Throw your name in the ring. You can win some good prizes. My brain has stopped working, so I am going to go. But I hope you guys have a great week. We're going to do this again next week. You know where to find us, bright and early Monday morning with Money Mitch and Michael Noss leading things off right there, half an hour before open for the Monday morning show. I'll be next with you on Monday at the end of the day for Power Hours. Don't miss that. It's going to be a good time. And until then, stay safe. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourself. And we will be back. Bye, guys.